Good morning. Welcome to all of you to our meeting on September the 9th, and those of you who are in our auditorium and those of you who are out in TV land. I'll call our meeting to order, and we'll do our roll call. Okay, we'll now do our invocation with Mary Perkins doing that for us, and Lauren White will do our pledge. Will you please stand?
Please bow. Dear Lord, we thank you for another day that you've spared us to do the will and the business for the people that we represent. We thank you for what you've done with Dorian. We thank you for the mercy that you shared throughout that event. We pray that you will continue to bless us as we go about the business. All these things I ask of you as we thank you for the health of the board and for the things that we must face. All these things in your name, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please face the flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion and a second if you'll vote. Okay, we have not heard from the Farmville Central basketball teams. This is, we've been interrupted by weather and school closing and everything else starting back in the spring. So we're going to go on and read our recognitions and our resolutions and have their certificates delivered to the school or have them pick it up.
Madam Chair, or the clerk, do we need a motion to approve these?
Okay, motion to approve, someone?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, let's vote.
Take my allergy. Sinus. Do you do sinus too?
If you'll read that for us.
All right, so we have two framed resolutions to read, and this is to honor the girls and boys varsity basketball teams for Farmville Central High School. This first resolution, let the audience see it, is entitled Pitt County Board of Commissioners Resolution of Recognition Honoring the Farmville Central Varsity Girls Basketball Team. Whereas the 2019 Farmville Central Girls Varsity Basketball Team played basketball with remarkable success and dignity as representatives of Pitt County and the state of North Carolina. And whereas the 2019 Farmville Central Girls Varsity Basketball Team went undefeated in the regular season and got second place in the 2A Girls Varsity Basketball State Championship. And whereas the players, coaches, families of the 2019 Central Girls Varsity Basketball Team deserve congratulations for their time, effort, and resources they committed to, quote, going all the way to the 2A State Girls Basketball Championship. The 2019 Farmville Central Girls Basketball Varsity Team is composed of the following: Jordan Joyner, Lauren Pitt, Amia Joyner, Rashaya Spite, Zion Shepard, Corrine Deenan, Diane Tenise Williams, Raisha Nisha Staten, Kenya Pittman, Janaya Foskey, Jahanaya Willoughby, Josh Sharon Carmen, Kirsten Barrett, Destiny Nemay. And I apologize if I mispronounced any of those names.
So much better.
They're not here. They're not here, so.
So
The 2019 Central Girls Varsity Basketball Team, the head coach was Hollis Harper, assistant coach A.J. Evans, additional assistant coach Wes Thomas, and then two more assistant coaches, Michelle Pitt and Deanna Parker. Now therefore be resolved, the Pitt County Board of Commissioners does hereby recognize the outstanding achievements of the 2019 Farmville Central Girls Varsity Basketball Team and congratulates the players, coaches, and families for making the 2A State Girls Basketball Championship. This is adopted this 9th day of September 2019 by the Pitt County Board of Commissioners. signed by the chair, Beth B. Ward, and attested by the clerk, Kimberly W. Hines. Okay. And the second resolution, again, for the audience, as we proceed reading this one. Again, the Pitt County Board of Commissioners resolution of recognition honoring the Farmville Central Varsity boys basketball team. Whereas the 2019 Farmville Central boys varsity basketball team played basketball with remarkable success and dignity as representatives of Pitt County in the state of North Carolina. Whereas the 2019 Farmville Central boys basketball varsity basketball team won the 2A state boys basketball championship by defeating and beating Forest Hills 86-71. Whereas the players, coaches, and families of the 2019 team deserve congratulations for their time, effort, and resources they committed to, again, quote, going all the way in winning the 2A state boys basketball championship. The following players were composed of the team: Danta Valles Short, Turquan Violin Smiths, Rashia Owens, Justin Wright, Coda Foskey, Randy Harper, Tay Suggs, Leonte Moy, Sam H. Teal, Joshua Baker, Damon Hardy, and Daquarius Wilkins. The boys' central team of players and coaches: head coach Larry Williford. The following assistant coaches: Ronald Reed, Donald Reed, Tyree Mayo, DeAndre Phillips, Justin Foskey, Joan Barrera, and three managers: Terrence Dixon, Don Terrell Weaver, and Keziah Everett. Now therefore be resolved, the Pitt County Board of Commissioners does hereby recognize the outstanding achievements of the 2019 Farmville Central Boys varsity basketball team, and again congratulates players, coaches, and families for bringing the 2A state boys basketball championship to Pitt County. Adopted this 9th day of September 2019 by the Pitt County Board of Commissioners. Chairman Ward.
Who got that one? Take them both up now.
We used to have three. You see, Eugene was a commissioner when he was on when he was on this board. Eugene James.
I remember that.
Then you and somebody.
Okay, public address to the board. I think we have one person signed up.
Yes, if Stephen Hardy Braze will come forward and give your, repeat your name and address, please.
And I'll keep your time at 3 minutes.
Yes, good morning. It's Stephen Hardy Braz from North Green Street in Farmville. Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity to inform you of an exciting event that's coming up in October. As you may know, NC Amateur Sports sponsors a week-long tourism ride for nearly 2,000 cyclists that tour from the mountains to the coast every year. This year, for the very first time, Greenville will be an overnight stop on October 3rd. The cyclists will be returning to Pitt County because of the great warm reception they had 2 years ago in Farmville. So they'll be coming through again from Clayton the night before, riding through Farmville, up through Fountain, Falkland, back to Farmville for some of them, and then all the way out to Greenville on Thursday, October 3rd. So nearly 2,000 cyclists from around the country, representing almost every state, and several other countries of the world, will be coming to visit and enjoy the great things we have to offer in Pitt County and Greenville. The next morning, Friday, October 5th, they'll be riding out from Greenville Town Commons down to staying overnight in New Bern, out in a rest stop in Ayden. So Pitt County will be the only county ever in the history of this ride for 20 years now that actually will have 4 different rest stops in our area. These cyclists will be here to enjoy the great food, music, culture, and exciting historical events and places we have to see. So thank you for all your hard work in welcoming these cyclists and making sure that Pitt County and Greenville is a great place to live, to work, to ride, to recreate. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we greet them or anything? Okay, our manager's report, Mr. Elliott.
Yes, so on the report, we've got the next meeting dates. We have the next meeting in September will be Monday, September 23rd, 2 weeks from today. That'll be a 6 p.m. meeting. Then October will be on Monday, October 14th at 6 p.m. I want to remind the board of the upcoming workshop that will be Monday, September 30th at 8:30 here in the Eugene James Auditorium, 8:30 to 12 o'clock. On item C, the NCACC annual conference reports, didn't know if any of the commissioners who attended that would like to provide any highlights or comments.
Anyone? Ms. Huggins?
I attended along with Melvin and Mary. And there were many workshops had. We had the North Carolina Cooperative Extension where they presented foods across the state of North Carolina, and we got to bring home plants, so, and some fruit. There was a youth involvement, and where we heard from at that youth involvement breakfast that morning, we heard from the presidential historian, Pulitzer winner author Doris Kearns Goodwin, talk about her book on leadership in turbulent times, where she focused on Lincoln, Theodore Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, and Lyndon Baines Johnson. And that was quite interesting to the point where I bought a book. I bought a book and got a signed autograph. And I have started reading it. So you know how when you buy a book, sometimes you don't read it. So I have started to read it. In the business session, there was an election, and I was your voting delegate, where we elected second vice president. That was a contested race, and we had two people, Tracy Johnson from Washington County and Tar T. Davis from Warren County. Tracy won the election. I voted for Tracy. So Pitt County vote went toward Tracy Johnson from Washington County. And also the League of Women Voters of North Carolina asked us to do a resolution sometime in 2020 to celebrate their 100th anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution and the founding of the League of Women Voters. So I hope that, and they were asking all 100 counties to participate in this. So I hope sometime in 2020 that we will put forth a resolution in support of that anniversary. So that's kind of my report. So the others want to contribute.
Well, in addition to what Ann has said, I think it's very important that we take seriously the 2020 census. 26 federal agencies rely on it to appropriate federal monies to in more than 1,000 programs for the county. And so this is helping us to receive money through these agencies for the county. So we certainly need to take this very seriously when it comes down to our 2020 census. They put a lot of emphasis on that. It helps the county to begin planning for future needs, and certainly we want the citizen participation in it in reference to government involvement. So we can't overemphasize the need to make sure that this 2020 census is an accurate count, and everybody just needs to register when it comes down to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary, do you have anything to add?
I found a conference, the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners Conference, quite rewarding. In one situation, I did go to the series of economic development when it wasn't in conflict with the ethics thing. I did take the ethic training again. One of the best sessions I've been in all the time since I've been here was done Saturday morning. I was planning to go to the Family Justice Center session, but it didn't strike my interest that much, and I ended up in listening for a better connection with constituents. And I tell you, that was one of the best sessions I've attended in all of the conferences I've gone to. The young man was really rewarding. He, with his information, and he didn't just stand in one place, he engaged the audience, and he talked about how we really could represent our constituents better. You know, the conference was all about connect. And it was just great. I really enjoyed that. Took some notes, and I think it would be good. It was good for me. Another thing I attended. You go to Greensboro all the time, and many years ago when they started the African American Museum, the conference had a tour of the African American Museum on the route for everyone. And people were really bored and had a bus shuttle for it. I found that a mind-boggling remembrance of things. And I just wish that sometime we could have some history like that we could draw people through and be listed so that we can bring more people in to spend their money and get an education at the same time. But I really enjoyed it. That was a last-minute tour that I decided to take. It was I really enjoyed that too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
Just one other comment. In terms of the county, Pitt County has hosted this conference several times now, 2 or 3 times. Guilford County really set the bar high. Next year, the conference will be in Cabarrus County, and Cabarrus has got a lot to meet in terms of what was delivered in Guilford. So it was a good conference.
And before we move on, and maybe some of you might exit after we go through the rest of the agenda, I meant to do this earlier, but I wanted to recognize our Pitt County government offices for what they did during the emergency that we just had. That, thank goodness, it did not turn out to be as bad as we have experienced in the past. But very quickly, and I hope I don't leave anyone out, this was Randy Gentry's first time with our emergency management downstairs, and all I heard was good things. I didn't get by, but I checked in often, and our Mike in our Public Information Office, Planning, DSS, Public Health, Sheriff's Department, thank you, MISGIC, Animal Shelter, everybody stepped up as they have in the past. Fire, EMS, our 911 communications, outstanding. The county manager's office, I saw part of the office coming in with snacks and things for the people who would be working down there 24/7. Finance, Red Cross, NCDOT, and GUC. So as a county, we're reaching out and thanking all of you for the job that you do so well anytime that we have this type of emergency. Thank
Can we
you.
give them a clap?
Let's do give them a hand.
Madam Chair, if we can ask Randy Gentry just come up just for a moment, just give a brief recap as to the number of shelters and just, even though it was a brief response, but what we did do under his command for the first time.
Good morning, Chairman Ward and Commissioners. You just took my first 2 lines there.
Oh, okay.
One of the first things I wanted to do is thank all the community partners in the community, the county departments that are so beneficial in this. Anytime that we have an activation of our Emergency Operations Center, it takes a lot of people to pull that off and to provide the services to the citizens and to the community. And first, I wanted to mention that what a great team of people in the Emergency Management Department that I found when I came 2 months ago to move down there as director. Great bunch of people, very professional. And then it just moves right on down the line with the other county departments, everyone knowing exactly what to do, very professional, and without hesitation there to help and do whatever. And then you get outside of our building and outside of our government, all of our other community partners, and what a great job they do. Without hesitation, it's all about what's best for the community and how can we help. And I saw that theme from the first couple of times we started meeting and talking about the preparation for the storm that was impending and coming our way. So I wanted to say that first about how great all of the community partners are in the county departments and their assistance, as well as the Emergency Management Department. Last week on September the 4th, we started our plan in motion, where we had a partial activation of our Emergency Operations Center on Wednesday the 5th. And at 5 p.m., we had that partial activation to support our shelters that we opened at 6 p.m. In Pitt County, we had 5 community shelters as well as 1 special medical needs shelter that opened that evening. We manned that center throughout the evening, and until Thursday, on the 6th, we had a full activation of our Emergency Operations Center at 1 p.m. At a briefing at our EOC, as well as a conference call to all of our community partners to lay out our plan, to clearly communicate what our mission was for the next several hours or ever how long it took to get through the storm. So we manned that Operations Center that evening, the next day, and at the community shelters, we had a total population of 172 citizens that decided to take shelter in one of those locations throughout the county. And then at our peak time at the special medical needs, we had 16 patients there that came to seek shelter during the time of storm. It was interesting for me being my first event, watching how everyone worked together and also making sure that we were meeting the needs of the citizens, and listening to the weather reports every time they came in, just trying to figure out which way the storm was going to go. The most impact that Pitt County had was around the 3:30 a.m. Friday morning on towards about a 5:30 a.m. With the high winds and high rain, and that's when we really started getting calls from citizens across the county about situations that they were dealing with, most of which were loss of power, down limbs and trees. And so we navigated through that with our partners within the EOC and through everyone in the Operations Center. We were able to navigate and make sure they got a response from the appropriate resource to get everybody back up and running, open the roadways back up. So as the storm moved on out away from our area, we were able to start scaling down our Operations Center, and 2:30 on Friday afternoon, we were able to close our Operations Center, and all of our shelters were closed. Citizens were either returned to their home, or arrangements were made to make sure they were at an appropriate place to receive shelter and safety. Our declaration of a state of emergency started on Wednesday at 5 p.m. and we ended that state of emergency on Sunday afternoon at 4 p.m. To coincide with the closure of the Pitt County Animal Shelter for that storm event. So unless anybody have any questions, that was a snapshot of what we've been up to the last 4 or 5 days.
I like to say that you all know we have a flooded area, and it must have been your luck of the draw that you got a time when we didn't flood. In my tour, my son drove me around, and I did find some limbs on the power line. And I like to also say to the department that I trouble the most, the planning department, for having done good with the trees, because there were only a few that brought that, and that's a worry of mine. They will fall on the power line, and the telephone poles did not fall. Only one.
Good, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Would it be good to say how rewarding it was for the television stations around here to keep you updated with the storm, because you didn't have to get out this time to try to see anything. And I think the media this time did an excellent job. Our local television station did an excellent job for informing the citizens. And so we had less driving around this time, and I thought that was great.
Good, thank you for doing that, Mary. Okay, is that it, Scott?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll start with our items for decision, and Sam Green, if you'll come forward.
Are we gonna do the consent agenda?
Where are
We're
we?
gonna-
I thought we already did it.
Consent.
Nah, we ain't done that. I move we approve the consent
Thank
agenda.
you. I don't know why I thought I had asked.
You brought it up.
We got a second?
He did it.
Okay, let's vote, please.
I think the chairman want to really get on out of here today.
Well, no, I really, honestly, I've got it written down here and then I crossed it out, so. Yes, Mr. Courtney.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'm here before you this morning to discuss,
Oh, I was skipping you.
again,
Tim.
something we talked about as part of our 2019-2020 capital improvement plan. Back early last year is when we started that. And one of the items that we discussed was a law enforcement center that would replace several buildings that the sheriff currently occupies, consolidation into one facility, looking at north of the river on New Hope Road, near the detention center and near our campus up there as the possible location. Here today just to basically gain approval from the board and permission to continue moving forward on the project as far as starting to talk with contractors, architects, and engineers to try to find out the best way to move forward with the project as far as the planning and design and construction process. There's some other ways that the project of this size could be built other than just getting the plans drawn and then hard bidding the project. We want to look at some other possible ways of constructing the project that might be smoother and more efficient, possibly more cost efficient as well. So I'd like to do that. Our estimated cost of the project, as was presented in the CIP, is about $250,000 for design, planning and design phase, excuse me, and $5 million for construction of the facility. We're hoping that with prices today and when we decide to build this, that those stay firm, and that the prices that we've estimated will be about the same. The financing for this project will be part of a LOBS borrowing, which I believe has been discussed with this board. Anticipated to come in the spring, and that'll be packaged with the purchase of the Warren property, as well as some school projects that have been talked about. So that's eventually where the funding for the project will come. But we're just looking for approval, just a consensus to continue to move forward with the project from the board so that we can start this process.
Okey-doke. Any questions? Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion has been made and a second. All in favor, or let's vote, or opposed, either way. Okay, that passes. Okay, Mr. Croom, you can come forward now. And that was Tim Corley, for those of you who are not aware. Tim, I'm sorry.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Morning.
Commissioners, Mr. Manager. It's good to be with y'all today. Today, we continue on the process, which is the three-step process of approving the 2020 Schedule of Values. Schedule of Values, standards, and rules we're going to be using for the 2020 reappraisal. On August the 5th, we introduced the Schedule of Values to the Commissioners. On August 19th, we held a public hearing. And today, I bring forth an item for decision, and the title is Adoption of the 2020 Schedule of Values, Standards, and Rules to be utilized in the 2020 reappraisal. According to statutory requirements to adopt this Schedule of Values, Standards, and Rules for the 2020 reappraisal, the Pitt County Board of Commissioners are to vote on the adoption of the Schedule of Values as presented on August the 5th. The vote comes after a public hearing on August 19th. The Schedule of Values have been on public display since August the 5th. If approved, the Commissioners shall issue an order adopting the 2020 Schedule of Values to be used for the 2020 Pitt County reappraisal. It is my recommendations that you approve the Schedule of Values as presented on August the 5th.
Okay. Any questions? A motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second and a motion to approve. Let's vote, please.
Thank you.
Okay, that passes. Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Manager, we have the appointment to our boards. If you'll start, please.
Yes, this is a carryover from the last meeting. You have the appointment for District A. Johnny Piner's term has expired. You have a list of interested applicants or applicantee for this position at this point in time.
Okay, is there a motion?
Yeah. That was,
So moved.
Do we have we need
Second.
a person. Have we had a recommendation from District A from our list?
So is that motion with a name or?
yeah, it was a name that came on up, Mrs. Buck, I think it was. Her name, was it?
On page
Correct.
80, it doesn't say.
Was
it just
Naomi,
says-
Naomi Buck, for District A. I so moved that we, appoint Ms. Naomi Buck for District A. Planning Board.
Okay, and there's a second. Let's vote.
Second.
Okay, next.
And next, you've got the reappointment or removal from Pitt County Nursing Home Adult Care Advisory Committee on page 85. On this one, you get a recommendation from the long-term advisory ombudsman to reappoint Mr. Cody Chulian, and then also recommending the removal of two people for a conflict of interest, Ellen Parker and Jessica Brown, to be removed.
Okay, and these are specific
Correct.
positions that have to be filled.
These are actually vetted by the Medes Commission through the long-term care ombudsman, and they go through a process in order to be considered for appointment to this committee.
Okay. A motion? A motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, let's vote, please, on these appointments. Okay, and next,
Next on the Pitt County ABC Board, we've got the term of former County Commissioner Eugene James. His term has expired. A recommendation has been put forth to have Commissioner Tom Colson replace Mr. James on the ABC Board.
So moved.
I make,
Second.
okay. Let's vote, please. Okay. And next,
Next, reappointment to the Commission of Visitors Authority. The City of Greenville is recommending Mr. Dustin Mills be reappointed to this authority.
okay.
So
A
moved.
motion?
Second.
Okay, let's vote, please. And the last one?
Last one is an appointment and reappointment to the JCPC, which is the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. You've got the reappointment of recommendation of Julie Carey, who's representing United Way. There was also a recommendation for Monica Daniels to be appointed as a DSS representative to replace Gwen Burns, who will be retiring soon.
I make a motion to reappoint Julie Carey and to delay the appointment of the DSS designee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, let's vote, please. Okay, that passes. Thank you very much. And are we at the end?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we are going into closed session. Madam Attorney, if you'll take us into closed session, please.
Yes, it has been suggested that this board go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3 under attorney-client privilege to consult with an attorney employed by the public body. Also under 143-318.11A4, economic development to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public body. And also under 143-318.11A1 to prevent the disclosure of confidential information. Just need a motion.
We need a motion to go into closed session, please.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to go into closed session. So we need a second. We have
Second.
a second. Okay, let's vote.
resume in 10 seconds.
Welcome back after our closed session. We have a motion for our minutes.
I make a motion to approve the closed session minutes from August the 19th.
Okay, there's been a second. Let's vote, please. Okay, that's approved, and we will do commissioners' comments. Mr. Colson?
None.
Okay,
None.
okay. None.
None.
With the Collar Festival being canceled this past weekend because of the hurricane, they have moved it to November the 8th and 9th.
Oh, so they did move it?
Yes, they
Good.
rescheduled it. They
Okay.
were able to do that.
Right, we'll remind again as we get closer. I think that'll be good. Thank you, Lauren. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
let's vote, please, and that will be an adjournment.
I'm gonna make